it's not as simple as just like hyping yourself up and surrounding yourself with the right people who like finger guns your way out of anxiety. It's very frustrating to me, like this representation of mental health. Hi everybody, thanks for coming back if you've been here before, or hi, welcome if you're new. My name is Mickey, I'm a therapist, and we talk about therapist-y things on this channel. Today we are talking about the Kardashians. Actually, I don't think I've talked about them on the channel before. The Kardashians, if you're unfamiliar, are a very famous family, primarily composed of a group of sisters who like do stuff, they sell stuff. I don't know, they had a TV show a long time. That's the best explanation I've ever offered for anything. Typically though, the family draws a lot of attention for their like suspicion or like this, you know, suspected use of cosmetic surgery and things like that, and like the beauty standard. Their family has come under fire a lot for like inventing new beauty standards, and just generally they have a very long problematic history. I want to be clear, I want to like acknowledge that because there are a lot of criticisms that the family has drawn because of their cultural appropriation and like some accusations of racism and things like that, and I don't want to diminish that. Like I want to bring that into the room and talk about that, or like honor that, but we're not specifically talking about that today. I just, you know, this is like, I guess, a window into like a little bit of me. When I was a high schooler, I was obsessed with Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I watched the show religiously. I watched it all the time, and I think probably I did a number on my mental health, honestly. But when they ended that show and then like revived, basically it's the same show. They just put it on Hulu instead. My little doo-doo brain was very excited about it. So my husband and I unironically watched it while we were on vacation, and I was like very surprised by some of the statements that were made about like mental health and anxiety and you know, depression and things like that. And so, as is the way, I'm turning one of my own like personal hobbies, I guess, into content for you guys today. So we're going to talk about it. I wanted to dissect some of the things that they've said, and like the conversations that are taking place about mental health. So that's what we're doing. Let's do the thing. There are two clips in particular that I want to watch. To be clear though, if you are like a fan of the Kardashians, like this is no shade to you. I just wanted to talk about this for the purpose of trying to put some like evidence-based information about mental health on the internet to serve the greater good. And actually, if you are interested in me sort of like flapping my lips with like very little structure or purpose, we have a podcast. You can become a patron and subscribe to tier 2 of our Patreon to get access to the podcast. Aaron and I talk about things in like more detail and like a more relaxed way. So if you enjoy this content and you want more of it, click the link in the description. You can go be a patron and listen to us talk about the Kardashians in a little bit more of an uncensored way there. So that's it. Let's watch the clips. Before we get too deep into the video, I want to pause and give a quick shout out to our sponsor this week. Thank you so much to Helix Sleep for sponsoring this video. I know that it looks like I'm probably in a bougie hotel right now, but I'm not. I'm actually in my own bedroom with my own fancy mattress, and I want to talk to you guys about Helix Sleep today. Helix Sleep makes premium mattresses and bedding that are customized to fit your needs, and they are delivered right to your door. Helix knows that everybody is different, and so they have a special sleep quiz that is designed to help you figure out what your unique sleep needs are. And the cool thing about the sleep quiz is that it's designed in such a way that you and your partner can take it together if you're sleeping with another person, so that you can find the best compromise between your two individual needs. Helix has something for every person's individual and unique taste, and so when Aaron and I took the sleep quiz together, Helix matched us with the Helix Midnight Luxe, and we also added the Glacio Tex cover to the top. Because if you don't know, we live in Arizona and it is so unbearably hot here, especially at nighttime, and I'm a sweater. So our experience so far with the Glacio Tex cover has been absolutely phenomenal. It's literally cool to the touch while I'm sitting here touching it right now. And our mattress has been the perfect compromise for us between firmness and softness. One of the best things about Helix is that they have a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. So Helix has a guarantee that if you try your mattress for 100 nights and you decide you don't like it, they will literally just show up at your house and pick it up and take it away and give you a refund, no questions asked. Helix also has flexible payment plans and financing options because making a big purchase like this can feel a little bit scary, but Helix has you covered. My other favorite thing about Helix is that they deliver it right to your door. I'm not a shopping person. I don't want to go to the store and do the thing. You buy the mattress online, it's so easy, and then they deliver it right to your door, and it comes in this compact little box that you cut open and it inflates in your house. You put it on your bed frame and you're literally ready to sleep same night. I love my Helix, and obviously I think you would love yours too. So if you want to get your Helix mattress, go click the link in the description to get up to $200 off your mattress and 2 free pillows. Thank you again to Helix Sleep for sponsoring this video. Let's go ahead and jump back into our video. As a quick refresher before I press play, for those of you who are new here or those of you who just need the refresher, we are going to put puppy B-roll footage over the footage of the show. That's that explanation. Here we go.
Hey! Where's the star of the show today? I heard this is the first show back with an audience.
Oh, stop.
Oh, yeah, there's a full audience out there.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, they're already chanting, Khloe, Khloe, Khloe.
Are you kidding or being serious?
No, there's a
No, not
major
the chanting,
audience.
but the audience.
Yeah, I'm serious.
Oh, gosh.
So when I heard that, I didn't want to just call you and tell you. I thought I'd come down and check on you and see if you were going to be okay with your anxiety.
Oh, lovely.
You're going to do so great. Oh, I see we brought the champagne out already.
Yes.
Do you want one of my beta blockers?
Oh, I love those.
I know, they're really great. I'm really lucky because
Just really quick before we continue, I want to be super clear. It is very dangerous for people to consume medication that hasn't been prescribed to you. I know that beta blockers aren't, like, for those of you who don't know, beta blockers are a medication that's typically, or it can be prescribed to treat anxiety because it lowers the heart rate and it lowers the amount of epinephrine or adrenaline that's produced. And it's sort of like a reverse engineering way to help lower levels of anxiety in the body. Particularly, they're helpful because people have moved away from prescribing benzodiazepines and things like that because they are very highly addictive. And so, like, it's not like they're sharing benzos necessarily, but I do want to be super clear. Please don't take prescription medication that isn't prescribed to you. This can still be very dangerous. I don't care how benign the medication is. Like, this is not best practice. There are lots of different ways that we can work to reduce anxiety levels and for you to, like, improve your distress tolerance and practice coping skills and things like that that don't include using someone else's medication. So please don't do that.
I'm really lucky because I get to spend a lot of one-on-one time with each one of my kids. I know Khloe has a hard time with her anxiety from time to time, so I really wanted to be here today and just support her and make her feel loved and special.
It's hard to sit in this thing. I plan for sitting.
Maybe I can wheel you out there on a little dolly.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, jeez.
Looks so good.
I think any time that you're in the public eye, it just opens you up for scrutiny and criticism about every little thing. And I think with Khloe, she does internalize that. And I think that you really have to have tough, thick skin, which all of us have, but every once in a while, our emotions just get the best of us. Uh-oh. Hi! Come in for a hug. I'm really your guest. It's a surprise.
Just really quick, I want to address this. I wasn't going to say anything. I'm going to say something. I can't help myself. This attitude of, like, you just have to have tough, thick skin to deal with criticism. And so, like, therefore, if you have thick skin, you won't get anxiety, but sometimes our emotions get the best of us, whatever. Like, this is harmful. Like, this is a harmful belief. This is kind of an outdated, like, it has this sort of, like, boomer energy to it of, like, if you just toughen yourself up, then you won't be mentally ill. That's not real. That's not how that works. That's certainly not how anxiety works. Just being a tough enough person who, like, doesn't care what other people think won't protect you from clinical anxiety. I think this is just an important thing to call into the room because it has, I don't know that Kris meant it this way, but it has, like, this victim blaming energy of, like, if you're experiencing anxiety, it's because you're not tough enough. And that's, like, a fucked up thing to say. This is, like, sort of central to the reason that I wanted to talk about these clips, because the Kardashians have a huge amount of influence on pop culture and, like, young people, particularly like a sort of female-centric audience. And, like, this is very harmful ideals to be perpetuating to people. This attitude that, like, you just like toughen up and you'll be better. That's shitty. That's a fucked up thing. And if people say that to you, please know that that's not how anxiety works. And also that you are very much allowed to experience a range of emotions as a human being. The thing that I tell my clients all the time in, like, doing anxiety work is that our goal is not to completely eradicate anxiety from your body and your life. That's simply an unrealistic expectation. And also, like, weird. Like, just the expectation that we would be able to completely remove a whole section of emotion from your experience as a human being is just, like, not, Like, that doesn't make any sense. We do this a lot with emotions that are uncomfortable to experience, like sadness and fear and anger and things like that. But those are part of what makes up the human experience. And so it is simply an unrealistic expectation that we can just like push that out the window and like never experience it again. That's not real. The goal in anxiety treatment and working through these things is to figure out how to effectively deal with it, how to make space for it, how to like honor that this is real and valid and that you're allowed to feel this while not letting it sit in the driver's seat and control your life and control your behaviors and your relationships and things like that. It's like finding a healthy middle ground here. And so like the skills in learning how to show up for yourself and show up for other people, like these are the work that we ideally are doing in treating anxiety, not just telling a person like just fucking white knuckle your way through it and like don't feel it, and if you do, hide it and lie about it and just tell everybody like I have thick skin and I'm fine. Like this is so harmful and just a shitty belief generally.
Nice to see you. And you.
Yeah, Khloe's gonna be great. She was a little nervous, but you're gonna make her feel like.
What are you nervous about?
I always get anxious.
Okay.
Not
You've
about
nothing
you.
to be anxious.
You
No,
got
it's always
this.
the aftermath
Look,
of
all
like the
that matters
Twitter
is-
and all of that shit.
Oh, that.
I know.
Why
I
are you
need
even
them
looking
to
at
tell
it?
me. I don't.
Then
It's
show
the
me.
head paparazzi that still's like, so I always get, it's just an anxiousness.
It's just everybody's.
I know.
But all you have to remember is none of these things are about you. Anybody that's like, it's only a representation and a reflection of them.
I know.
That's it. That's it.
You're so
It's
right.
nothing to do with you. What
right.
somebody thinks of you is none of your
I'm
business.
just gonna start crying.
And how can anyone judge anyone when they don't know them?
Yeah.
So you become something else in their mind, and at various points people just go blah. But it doesn't matter. These words only exist if I give them any power.
Right.
They only exist to me if I allow them to penetrate my core.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay. This is like very much like a yes, but also no kind of moment. This statement about like other people's opinion of you is only a reflection of themselves. Like, yes, but also no. Like sometimes this is true. We very much do the thing as human beings where we project our own insecurities, our own thoughts and feelings onto other people. And this happens a lot with celebrities. It's also like kind of a dehumanization thing. I know that sounds like kind of a wild thing to say, but like we do have the tendency as a culture to dehumanize people in the public eye, particularly celebrities and things like that, because we just like, we're so immersed in this culture of like media and especially social media where we get like this very curated view of people's lives and things like that. It's very easy to kind of accidentally separate someone from their humanity and like their realness and as a person. Celebrities and public figures often get held up to this like very high standard of like you must do everything perfectly right all the time, and then if you don't, you have to apologize perfectly right in order to like make it better. And so like it is like a lot of pressure and expectation. I don't want to deny that. As a person with a platform that's like 1/1,000,000th of the size of Khloe Kardashian, I can vouch for how overwhelming it can feel sometimes to have eyeballs on you all the time. Like it's a lot, you know? That is real and it is like true to some degree. However, I think it's also problematic to perpetuate this idea that like what other people think of you is none of your business always, because that's not true. In the same way that we as a culture tend to dehumanize celebrities, celebrities also tend to like put on blinders as a way of dealing with the pressure and anxiety that comes along with being a public figure to kind of distance themselves from criticism, because some of it is people's shitty projection of their insecurities and their feelings and like, you know, us dehumanizing celebrities, and some of it is incredibly necessary and valid criticism of people's shitty behavior, especially when somebody like the Kardashian family, who is like so fucking steeped in this privileged identity that like it's almost like they're so privileged that they can't realize how privileged they actually are, which is like a different tier. They're just like very sucked into this like cocoon-like environment where they're so far removed from real life and reality and like what normal people. It has the energy of like Lucille Blue saying like, how expensive can a banana be?
$10?
Like that kind of a thing. And so like this way of dealing with the anxiety by like separating ourselves even further can make it very difficult for people to actually absorb valid and real and necessary criticism of themselves. And so I do want to caution people, like just as regular human beings, when we do this, where we say like, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks, and I don't even take care of anybody's opinion, like yes, but also no, because it is important for us to have the sense of inner resiliency where ultimately I get to define who I am. Ultimately, I have final say over my values and beliefs and what matters to me and who I want to be in this life. And also, it is sometimes very, very necessary for us to sit with valid criticisms from safe and trusted people to do that work on ourselves, because the reality is that none of us are perfect. None of us as human beings are ever done growing, and we do very much fuck shit up sometimes, which is okay. Like, this is morally neutral. That's allowed. It's also very common. And so being able to absorb that criticism is a really important and honestly like a high level maturity skill. So I want to encourage people to like practice both. Like, we should not be taking criticism from any Tom, Dick, or Harry who has an opinion about you, and also when, you know, it's necessary and valid and safe, we should be able to absorb that criticism. And for that to not feel like a statement about us as a human being, like not our personhood, but our behavior. Yeah, there's more here for us to dissect, so let's watch some more and talk about it in a sec.
Right.
Look, you're drinking champagne at 4 p.m. on Monday, and you're at work.
Yeah.
You've won.
We've won.
Right, I'll see you down there.
That was a great motivational speech.
Let's go out and do an endorsement for Candy Crush.
Yeah.
This speech just makes me, it sounds so corny, but like warm and fuzzy. I feel understood because I know he's talking to me, but I know he's had this talk with himself.
Oh my God.
This bothers me. Like, I don't want to attack anybody's personhood. Like, we've talked about this on the channel before, and I don't want to label anyone as a human being, but like, this behavior to me is not my favorite, especially like the privilege here. And this is why I wanted to talk about this, because I think acknowledging the privilege and like how out of touch people like the Kardashians, but even like celebrities generally are from real life, is very important when we have a conversation about mental health and mental illness. It's very, very different for somebody like Khloe Kardashian to experience anxiety than it is for someone who is living in poverty, who has been a victim of like systemic oppression, who has a bunch of different compounding factors of oppression in their life that aren't their fault, that are very difficult for them to deal with, and they have like a fundamental lack of resources to address those problems. And so it's frustrating to me, like, this conversation being held up in this show as like an example of how to deal with anxiety or how to deal with it if you're anxious, because like, that's not real. Like, that's not a reality for fucking regular people. And it's also like low-key kind of rude, this like, we're drinking champagne in the afternoon and then we've won. Like, ew, you're like flaunting your privilege as a means of like making yourself feel better, but also shitting on the people who are consuming the media that makes you rich. And so it's just like frustrating to me and like disappointing to me, because people like the Kardashians have, again, like such a huge amount of influence over pop culture and like beauty standards and like all of these things. And so having a conversation about mental health or mental illness in a more honest way would actually be very impactful, and I think probably touch a lot of people's lives in a positive way. And like, maybe this has, I don't know, I'm sure this has resonated with someone, but also I think like it's clear that this missed the mark in a lot of ways, because watching people who have more money than most people will ever aspire to earn in their entire fucking lifetime, like their entire family could ever earn in an entire lifetime, fucking suck each other off over champagne behind the scenes of some TV show about how like, we're the winners, we don't have to be anxious because we're rich. Like, ew, it just fucking bothers me. And so I wanted to talk about this because if you are a person who struggles with anxiety and you struggle with coping and like how to deal with that and like how to kind of sit with that as part of your reality, please know that this is a very normal part of life. There are so many people who experience anxiety and like a range of different mental illnesses, and there are very real and very impactful ways for us to deal with that. I don't want to minimize the lack of access and resources that a lot of people have, because it is very real and it's a very real barrier for a lot of people in improving their mental health. But there are still resources for you. There are still things that you can do, and you don't have to be a person with the wealth or privilege that the Kardashians have in order to deal with it. And also, like, please know that this representation of just fucking hype yourself up and feel better is not a long-term solution for most people. I'm also very frustrated by this conversation being presented in this way, because it sort of like, the show has this tendency overall, like it's a very 2000s take of like this short story arc that occurs over like an hour-long episode of the show, where like there's this problem, we like talk about it a little bit, and then there's a resolution, and then like that's not real. Especially for people with chronic anxiety, this is something that will ebb and flow and you might deal with in some capacity for the rest of your life. Not to say that you'll experience the same severity of symptoms for your whole life, but it's not as simple as just like hyping yourself up and surrounding yourself with the right people who like fucking finger guns your way out of anxiety, it's very frustrating to me, like this representation of mental health, or mental illness, I guess, because it's just not reflective of reality. And I think also like very isolating for a lot of people. So please know that this is not the way that it looks for all people. As a person who helps people do this work all the time, I can vouch for the fact that there are lots of ways to deal with anxiety, and this is not one of them.
Kourtney, I'm outside.
Outside? Okay. Hi.
Hi, Mom.
Everything looks so pretty.
Oh my God, you haven't been here.
What's going on? Where's Rain?
My kids aren't here today because they're with Scott, but Penelope will be here any minute.
Okay.
Just this like lounging around in my backyard wearing a floor-length gown is such like, this is what I'm fucking talking about. Like, this level of privilege is like so far removed from reality. It's like astounding. And the funny thing about it is that like I don't even think that they realize that that's what they're doing. And whether this is reflective of their real life or not doesn't matter to me. She may very well lounge around in her house in pajamas, but the fact is that it's still being represented as if this is just a casual Wednesday afternoon where Kourtney's wearing sunglasses in full glam with a fucking floor-length gown in her backyard, and like that's weird. That's weird and also not real.
How are your doctors going?
Awful.
What?
Travis and I want to have a baby, and so my doctor took us down this road of doing IVF, and like it hasn't been the most amazing experience. Every single person on social media and is always like, Kourtney's pregnant, Kourtney's pregnant, Kourtney's gained so much weight. And I'm like, it's so rude to comment on people when you have no idea what they're actually going through.
It is actually very rude. I do want to validate that. I want to discourage people from doing the thing where we speculate about whether somebody is pregnant or not, because infertility is like a very traumatizing issue, or like difficulty conceiving can be very traumatizing. And like, this is what I'm saying about the public sort of accidentally or like without realizing that we're doing it, dehumanizing public figures. It's not a thought experiment or like a cute social media trend to speculate about somebody's health conditions or like difficulty with certain things. And so like, it can be very hurtful.
The medication that they've been giving me, they put me into menopause because I don't know.
Menopause?
Literally into menopause. And so I'm...
Based off of what, a drug?
Yes. I think because I'm so clean and careful with what I put into my body, it's just like having the complete opposite reaction and is working as a contraceptive instead of helping us.
This is a separate issue, and I want to abide by my own fucking advice and try not to speculate about the health conditions of public figures, but I do feel compelled to call out this pattern of behavior that Kourtney has demonstrated. In this show in particular, there's a lot of discussion of like very specific dietary restrictions, the use of different like alternative wellness practices and things like that. And like the buzzword of like being so clean is like a bit of a red flag in the therapy space. Like if a client were to present that information to me in session, this would like perk up my little therapist antenna, because sometimes, and I want to be clear, I'm not speaking about Kourtney specifically, but just generally, if you're noticing this behavior for yourself or in a loved one, sometimes this fixation with clean eating, with like the like holistic wellness and whole foods and like all of that can be a warning sign for disordered eating, for like a fixation with health. If you don't know, orthorexia is an eating disorder that is not yet in the DSM, but is being recognized by a lot of eating disorder specialist therapists, and it's a fixation with like eating the healthiest foods, and this is like very damaging. This can be a very painful disorder for people to work through, and so I wanted to call attention to that, because this, again, like the perpetuation of this lifestyle as like a perfectly healthy and normal thing to do is very, very harmful and has the potential to hurt a lot of people. So if you are a person who sees Kourtney doing this like weird quail egg thing and talking about like all of the like the fucking wellness center thing that her and Travis go to, please know that, like, again, A, this is like just reeks of fucking privilege, and B, there's tremendous harm that she can be inflicting with this perpetuation. Like, this is not fucking normal, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm just not beating around the bush. That's not fucking normal. It can be very, very harmful and very dangerous. So, like, very much proceed with caution there, I guess.
The medication basically like put me into depression.
I feel like I've never seen you happier, so that would, that would surprise, the depression thing surprised me.
And I have everything in the world to be happy about. I just feel a little bit
physically
off and not myself, super moody and hormonal. Like I'm a lunatic half the time. And
okay, well, I gotta go.
And that's it.
I think I have an appointment.
Okay, so this again is like one of those moments where like, do I agree with all of the behavior of the Kardashians and like just culturally the things that they've added? No. However, like this is painful to watch because it's important to talk about the fact that your outside perception of a person's emotions or their behavior is not at all an indicator of their mental health or illness or wellness or anything like that. It's very, very common for someone to present as like put together, completely fine, very like functional, which is like inherently an ableist sentiment, but like you get what I'm saying, and like, sort of like perfectly fine, and for that person to still have a valid mental illness that is worthy of like love and respect and attention and the care that they deserve. This is particularly common for folks who are socialized in like the female side of like the gender binary, because there's like a lot of gaslighting that happens about being like hysterical, and so it's fairly common for folks with that experience to develop a tendency to like suppress those emotions with the goal of being like approved of by others. And so if you notice this for yourself, please know that being able to like brush your teeth or go to school or, show up at work and have no one notice that you're, not doing okay is not at all an indicator that your mental illness is not valid or real. You are still very much deserving of love and respect and the care that you need and the time and space and support from your loved ones to work through that. Because like, again, this is very common as a therapist. This is something I help people work through all the time. You do not need to be a person who presents with these like classic depression symptoms in order to be valid in your struggles. And so like this attitude of like, oh, I've never seen you happier and I have everything in the world to be happy about, and so I shouldn't be sad, is harmful. Like this is harmful. It's a crushing pressure for a lot of people to feel like I'm not allowed to be sad because I have these certain things. Like this is a losing game when we do this, where like I, have blessings that other people don't have, or I have privilege that other people don't have. Doesn't matter. Mental illness doesn't work that way. It's not a tally system where if you check a number of boxes, then mental illness is like, oh, not this house. Like it doesn't work like that. And so again, just please know that you are valid, you are allowed. And like this channel especially is always a safe place for you to just feel how you feel. Also, Kris is like, oh, I have to go, I have an appointment. Like what a fucking surprise then that these people have a really hard time speaking openly about their struggles with mental illness if that's the way that a mother is responding to her daughter.
Even though Kourtney has 3 beautiful children, it doesn't make it hurt any less if you're trying to have a baby and you've been struggling. I'll tell you that I got pregnant in 1994 and had a miscarriage, and my body entirely shut down. It stopped making anything. I was moody and depressed, and I was bloated, didn't feel well. Everything you just described, the exact same thing happened.
I think that we want it so badly because we want to make something together.
Of course. You want to bring your own
our
baby, your own love into the world in the way, that exactly how, you both know how it feels to have a child and how to bring a child in.
Whatever, Kris yams on and on. Yes, super valid. This is, again, like a traumatizing and difficult thing for a person to work through, and I want to honor that, especially for those of you who aren't Kourtney Kardashian and are just normal people and struggling with this. Please know that you are like so seen. This is a very difficult thing, and there's just a lot of pressure and trauma surrounding this issue. In the hope of providing people with some like useful tools in terms of supporting somebody with depression, it's very common for us to do the thing where we try to share a parallel experience in the hopes that it will provide support. And sometimes this is very useful, and sometimes it's super fucking not. And so like very much this is a moment of like learning how to read the room and relying on the context of that relationship to discern whether that will be helpful. Generally though, I do want to encourage people to practice not making it about ourselves when we're trying to support someone who's ill, like mentally or otherwise, honestly, because it's sometimes invalidating and can feel like you're you're being silenced by the people that you love because they're sharing this experience with you. And especially for people who are socialized with the expectation that it's our job to be a caretaker, it can sort of push this button accidentally where like if I share a difficult experience about myself after you've just talked about your stuff, you can then like feel obligated to caretake me, and now the conversation is no longer about you. And so like that's not helpful. Like now you're not feeling supported, you're not feeling cared for, or like I've made space for you. And so as a general rule of thumb, I do encourage people to keep it short, keep it brief, identify like one particular similarity and say like, oh, I can resonate with that because this happened to me, and so I can fully understand why you'd feel that way. I'd love to hear more about it, or like fully open to hearing whatever it is that's on your mind, or like then asking some kind of follow-up question to turn the conversation back to the person to indicate that you are there to offer support to them and not to make it about yourself. Because again, this can feel just very isolating and shitty and like, yeah. So thanks, Kris, for like really modeling very unhelpful behaviors. Appreciated a bunch. That's the end of the clips that I have. So let's scooch and unpack a little bit. So I, again, just really want to highlight that generally, celebrities and public figures are not the people that we should be looking to for specific advice about our own day-to-day lived experience, because the privilege and the wealth and all of the quality of living factors that are different there very much prevent celebrities and public figures from being like actually effective role models. But especially in the realm of mental health, this feels like an important conversation to have, because again, there is just like a fundamental difference in the resources and opportunity and quality of care, quite honestly, that like regular people can access versus people like the Kardashians. I just am perpetually frustrated by the way that they represent mental health and mental illness. This was something that they did on Keeping Up with the Kardashians a while ago, where Khloe has used the term OCD incorrectly and sort of made a joke about it. It's unclear whether Khloe has OCD or not, but there's a lot of jokes about Khloe being like very neat and organized person, and so she has Khloe, which is like very frustrating to me. That's a different conversation for a different day. But again, I want to draw people's attention to the fact that this family in particular is not being super successful in the way that they're hosting conversations about mental health or mental illness. And so if that felt isolating to you or invalidating to you, please know it's not a you thing. You're not doing anything wrong, and you're not like the weirdo here for experiencing very real, very normal range of emotions or mental illness and things like that. And there are resources and opportunities for you to feel better and to feel okay. I always have links in my description if you guys want to try and find a therapist. All of the links in my description are centered around inclusivity and promoting accessibility. And so, you know, like Open Path Collective in particular is a sliding fee scale therapist search engine, which tends to be more affordable. So if you are in need of services, please feel free to look at the description. That's all I have to say about this particular episode. Again, I want to acknowledge that the Kardashians have like a long history of problematic behavior. Quite frankly, I don't have the time or energy to write a dissertation about it like y'all know that I would. So maybe we'll dive back into it on another day. But this, I just wanted to sort of make a quickie about this one. So if you like the video, subscribe to the channel. We make content like this, but we also do like a cute educational moment every now and again. So I'd love to have you stay. Click the link in the description to be a patron if you want to hear us dissect this a little bit more on the podcast. Share the video to help the channel grow and to help each other grow, and I will see you guys next Saturday. Bye.